We're fearlessly talking about the biggest stories that matter to you the most. Breaking news, John Calipari is finalizing a 5-year deal to become the Arkansas Razorbacks' next head coach, covering college sports like no one else. The biggest guests in sports. We now welcome in Hall of Famer Jim Calhoun.
Such a pride I had, I came to Connecticut.
The legend, Tim Tebow, joins us.
We'll run it back. I like it.
The legend, Herschel Walker. Welcome in, everybody. Monday night edition, Aaron Torres Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Aaron Torres. Hope everybody's doing well. Hope everybody's having a great day. Listen, we are usually a topic-based show, but I bring it up to say there's no Shador talk today. There's nothing other than college football because it's week one. We are here. And listen, we just got ourselves a jam-packed show of talking nothing but ball. This is our preview show, basically all my picks for the season. We're going to make my college football playoff picks, my national championship pick, my Heisman pick. We'll save all the debates and all the arguments for later in the week. By the way, we will have my week one picks on Tuesday night, a little bit earlier just because of the schedule with games starting on Thursday. And then Thursday, we'll do a little bit of a preview show. But that is the situation here. Hope everybody's having a great day. By the way, I came down with some sort of third world something when I was at Vegas. Do not feel great, but we are going to grind through this show. I am so fired up. Before we get started, a couple quick reminders. One, make sure you're subscribed to Aaron Torres Pod YouTube channel. On YouTube, new clips, new videos going up every single day. We really do appreciate your support. You can also listen Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast. Please make sure to subscribe to the Aaron Torres Pod. We really do appreciate your support. Also, before we get started, you know who support we appreciate? Our friends, our partners. We were there last weekend for contest weekend. I'm talking about Circa Sportsbook, Circa Casino, and they are taking over the world. Okay, so first of all, we were out there for contest weekend. For people who are not familiar, Circa runs both a survivor pool and also a pick'em pool, which they call Circa Millions. Millions given away. If you're in Nevada, you can sign up. I signed up for the survivor pool, by the way, so I'll be giving out survivor picks over the course of the season, hopefully into December and January. But the bottom line is they were great hosts last weekend, and here's the great part. They have that beautiful new facility down there in Franklin, Kentucky, and if you have not checked it out, if you're on the East Coast, we have such a great listenership in Kentucky, Tennessee, Indiana, Ohio, that whole region. That is the place that you need to go to listen to your and watch your college sports and pro football, NBA. Basically, it's where you need to go, okay? The truth of the matter is that, look, it's that time of year. You want a place to watch games. I thought Mike Palm from Circa brought up a great point the other day when he basically said, hey, look, man, bottom line is it costs over $1,000 to get all these streaming services. You don't need to spend all that. If you're in Kentucky, if you're in Tennessee, by the way, if you're in Nevada, you can always hit up the Circa Sportsbook in Vegas, but just go there and you got all the games there. The new Circa Sportsbook is modeled after the one in Nevada, the one in Franklin, Kentucky, and people raved about it. They had their launch party this weekend. I hope many of you made it. I know a few of you tagged me, so we appreciate their support. But again, we appreciate Circa support. And reminder, if you're in Nevada, you can sign up for Circa Millions, Circa Survivor. Take advantage of all that they have to offer. Thank you to Circa and Circa Casino and Sportsbook. We are so fired up to be working with them all college football season long. With that said, it is a busy Monday in sports. There is no more time to waste, so let's go ahead and get to the topic of the day. Topic of the day, listen, it's time to make some picks. Listen, all your other favorite college sports shows have given their national championship playoff picks. I just thought because of the schedule being in Vegas last week, it kind of made sense for us to kind of say, do the gambling stuff last week, over under win totals, and today, this week, to kind of focus on the other stuff, the ancillary stuff that comes with college football. So today we're going to make our national championship college football playoff and also Heisman Trophy picks. Now, before we get started, a couple of you are going to probably sit there and say, Torres, I don't know how much, I haven't really heard you talk a lot of college football. I don't know how much I could trust you. Well, I'll tell you what, I got an email from an Iowa State fan on Monday that I think emphasizes, if you don't trust Torres on college football, you should. So remember, I did give out a winner, Iowa State +3 last week. Listen to this email from Wayne in Iowa. Now, admittedly, the caption, the headline, it's got a little vulgarity, so just be careful if you're driving around with little kids. But Wayne in Iowa says, "Hey, Aaron, diehard Cyclones fan here, been a listener for a couple years now. What I appreciate about you is that you don't get caught up in groupthink and you go beyond the surface level talking points of other national voices. You're often able to offer up a unique perspective without resorting to clickbaity hot takes that seem not genuine. Never was this more apparent than in your pregame analysis of Farmageddon, which of course was Iowa State, Kansas State in Dublin in week 0. He said you were the only national voice I heard to pick the Cyclones, despite everyone saying it would be close. Weird how it wasn't more of an even split. Everyone only talked about the wide receivers my Cyclones lost without looking at what we returned. Everyone all crowned Avery Johnson, who despite being talented has never consistently put it together. It just all seemed like they were talking from the same script, but not you. I hope you, and this is where kids cover your ears, I hope you talk your shit on Monday. You earned it. Let me know if you visit Hilton. I'll try to make it over and buy you a drink. Sincerely, Wayne in Iowa." So Wayne in Iowa, thank you so much. We appreciate your support of the Aaron Torres pod. And with that said, let's go ahead and just dive into what is a busy episode, a fun episode. Everybody, you could drop your questions, comments, etc. in the chat, what your college football playoff picks are, etc., etc. But with that said, no more time to waste. Let's give out my college football playoff picks. I'm just going to go full bracket. I'm going to give you my 12 teams, and then from there, we'll continue the conversation and dive deeper, okay? So let's get to my 12 picks, college football playoff bracket. Remember, a little bit different than a year ago because last year, those top 4 conference champions all got automatic buys. This year, no such thing. It's a straight 12-team seed. So let's go ahead and dive in. All right, enough nonsense. Let's discuss. Number 1 seed in Torres's college football playoff. It is maybe a little bit of a surprise, the Alabama Crimson Tide, okay? So Alabama is the number 1 seed to me. Now, I know what a lot of people are going to sit there and say, well, Torres, they got a tough schedule. They got to go to Georgia. How do you explain it? Well, first of all, let's just talk about this team a little bit. One, I really do think the addition of Ryan Grubb as the offensive coordinator of Alabama, I think that's an X factor. I really think it matters. I really think it's important. I really think it's a huge variable when looking at this team. You look at Alabama last year, they were good, but Jalen Milroe wasn't the guy. Kalen DeBoer didn't have his right-hand man. And I think that Ty Simpson gives Alabama a more steady presence at quarterback, even if it isn't as explosive. So Ty Simpson comes back. The running game, I know Jam Miller, the starting running back, is out for this week against Florida State, but he's coming back. On top of that, the receiver core is deep, maybe the best O-line in all of college football. And then that defense, I don't know how many people realize they had a top 20 defense. Like, people were like dying over that defense early in the season a year ago, concerned about, transparently just about, the loss to Vandy, whatever. They were very good after that Vanderbilt game. And so I could go on and on, but Alabama is my number 1 seed. It's worth noting, I know that they play at Georgia. To be clear, listen, everybody I think in this new era is going to take losses. I think they get to Atlanta. I think they win the SEC title. They are my number 1 overall seed. Number 2 seed in Torres' college football playoff. It is the Ohio State Buckeyes. Now, some of you are wondering, where is Penn State in that conversation? I guess what I would say is this. I like Penn State. I believe they will be in the playoffs. Spoiler, until they prove they can beat real teams in tough venues, I can't pick them to beat Ohio State. I just can't. We go through Penn State every single year. We'll talk about Penn State in a minute. But the bottom line is that their best win last year was a close loss over Oregon. I keep saying it. And so when I look at this Penn State, Ohio State situation in the Big Ten, yes, Ohio State loses a lot. Yes, they have a very tough opener in week 1 against Texas at home. But even if they lose this game, it has no impact on the Big Ten title chase. And the Big Ten schedule is not brutal. They don't play Oregon. They do have some weird road games. I'm not as high on Illinois as everybody else. So you go to Illinois. You do have to go to Washington. I think that's maybe the toughest road game that they'll have until late in the season, which we'll discuss in a minute. And they get Penn State at home. They've dominated Penn State. I don't think they're quite as talented as Penn State this year, but the gap isn't big enough where you would worry that much. And so because of it, I like Ohio State to beat Penn State in the regular season and get to Indianapolis, which is going to be crazy, for the first time since the 2020 COVID season. Now, the one variable with Ohio State that's worth noting, you got to remember, been a minute since they beat Michigan. And so because of it, you do have to wonder what that would mean going forward if they were to lose to Michigan for a 5th straight year. But listen, I think they beat Penn State. I think they get back to Indy. And then if they're playing Penn State and Indy, guess what? I got to take the team that has dominated the other for a decade straight. Give me Ohio State in the college football playoff as the number 2 seed, as the Big Ten champion. Number 3 in my college football playoff seeding bracket, whatever you want to call it, it is your ACC champion, Clemson Tigers. Listen, again, we're just going to throw spoilers out here left and right. I like the matchup with LSU this weekend. Now, look, maybe somewhere in the ACC schedule they get tripped up. I think that game at Louisville would certainly be one that I would keep my eye on Friday night in Louisville. And then beyond that, I also think that, listen, that game at South Carolina to end the year could be tough. So I don't think they're going undefeated during the regular season, but I love this team. I love what they're about. I love who they are. And I love the fact of everything that they return. Listen, we're going to talk plenty of Clemson throughout this show, a little bit of a spoiler there, and we're going to talk about Clemson plenty this season. Is the fact remains that, in my opinion, this is a team that is going to, I don't want to say prove the doubters wrong, but what I do think is that they're going to do is have an ability to basically, change the narrative about the entire program over the last, 3-4 years, right? It was the program that didn't take transfers. It was the program that was falling behind. Now, I think they're the program that maybe has it figured out, because guess what? What they have said, what they are doing is they're saying, look, we are Clemson. We do it our way, and it still works for us. They're the reigning ACC champs. They actually played Texas more tough than people remember in the college football playoff. If you remember, it was the defense that couldn't that couldn't get off the field. Well, they have a new defensive coordinator in Tom Allen, a lot of talent coming back. Clemson is my number 3 seed. My number 4 seed, and this is where it's different than last year, non-champion SEC runner-up, the Georgia Bulldogs. Listen, I think Georgia could go into championship weekend with the best record maybe of all the power conference teams. Last year, by the way, let me say this about Georgia. Easy to forget this now. Last year, Georgia, for all of the flack, right? Because all I hear this offseason is, the O-line needs to get better. The running game needs to get better, on and on and on. Well, I just bring it up because guess what? You know what doesn't need to get better? The win-loss record, because if you remember, it's easy to forget now, they won the SEC last year. Well, now all of those games that were on the road, at Texas, at Bama, at Ole Miss, they're at home. And I do think there's a chip on the shoulder within that program of like, wait a second now. Everyone's picking Texas here and Bama there and whatever. And it's like, we're the reigning SEC champs. And in some ways, the schedule is easier. So obviously, if you're doing the math, I have Georgia at number 4. What that kind of means is that I do have them getting to Atlanta. I do have them losing to Bama. Now, it's worth noting I have Georgia beating Bama early in the season. I could go on and on, but Georgia's going to get to the playoff. I believe they will get a first-round bye. Again, you don't need to be a conference champion to get a first-round bye. Give me the Georgia Bulldogs in Atlanta and give me them as the number 4 seed. Let's get into the 5 through 12 spots. Number 5, guess what? It's another SEC team. It's the Texas Longhorns. Texas, obviously, if I have Bama, if I have Georgia, that means they are not a conference champion or even in the conference title game. But again, we're just giving out spoilers left and right here. I think Texas beats Ohio State this weekend, and I think that win will continue to carry weight all season long. And so with Texas, they're going to have that great win all year. The SEC schedule does get tougher at Florida, at Bama, or at Florida, at Georgia, among others. But the counter to that is this. You have that Ohio State win. It's going to carry weight all year. And then two, and this is the important part, they are just so talented. I mean, listen, everyone's going to talk about Arch Manning. The story to me with that team is the defense. I mean, you look at that defense. You look at Colin Simmons. You look at Anthony Hill. You look at the guys that they have on that side of the ball. It's just hard for me to see the scenario where they don't get to 10-2. They don't get enough wins to make the college football playoff. I have Texas as my number 5 seed in the college football playoff. Number 6 seed in this college football playoff, it is, we talked about them already, the Penn State Nittany Lions. Listen, Penn State, we know the deal. They win a lot of games against bad competition. They have not won a lot against great competition. And so this year, it's about proving they can get over the hump. Now, the tough thing for them, I think that, well, I don't think, they get Ohio State on the road. They do get Oregon at home. Got to beat Oregon. I think this year for Penn State, it's about two things. You got to beat teams that matter in the regular season, and you got to beat teams that matter in the postseason. Because even last year, you made the semifinals of that initial 12-team playoff, but let's not forget, in that run, this is who you beat. SMU at home when Kevin Jennings couldn't stop turning the ball over, and Boise State on a neutral field. You have to win games that matter. I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. I will assume that they beat Oregon at home, where I do have hesitation. I don't think they're beating Ohio State on the road. And if they don't beat Ohio State on the road, I think there's so much pressure on them going into that Big Ten championship game that it's just hard for me to envision them beating Ohio State again with all of that pressure. And so I understand all they return. Drew Aller, Nick Singleton, Katron Allen. I know the names. I got to see the on-the-field results. I still like Penn State. I still think they're capable of winning a national championship, but at some point they got to prove it. And that's the other thing too, really quick, because I know I'm already going long in typical Torres fashion. But listen, I'm so, people keep saying, well, Ohio State last year, Michigan 2 years ago. Those teams had great wins on their resume in previous years, right? Michigan had beaten Ohio State 3 straight times before they made that championship run. Ohio State has won big games even prior to last season. Penn State, again, what is the best win? I just need to see it. Penn State at number 6. Number 7 in AT's college football playoff, it is the Oregon Ducks. It's crazy. I'm not even that high on Oregon this year, to be honest. They basically lose everyone of substance from a year ago, coming off of that number 1 seed where they had the unfortunate situation where they had to face Ohio State in the Rose Bowl. But here's the thing. 1, they're still more talented than virtually everybody they play. And 2, outside of Penn State, show me where the losses are on the schedule. First 4 games, Montana State at home, Oklahoma State at home, at Northwestern, Oregon State. That should be a 4-0 start. And then after Penn State, I guess there's a pseudo-tough game against Indiana, who I do like, but Rutgers, Wisconsin, Iowa, Minnesota, USC, Washington. So look, maybe Washington gets them at home. Or Washington gets them in a home game for Washington. Maybe USC gets them on the road. Maybe Indiana gets them. But it's hard to find that second and certainly third loss. I will take Oregon as my number 7 seed. 8 seed, college football playoff, Big 12 champion, Arizona State Sun Devils. Okay, so Big 12, remember, there are no auto buys for conference champions this year. I do think Arizona State gets back to the playoff as the Big Ten champion. Truth of the matter is, the stat that I keep going back to, my buddy Mike Luke brings this one up all the time. Mike, if you know Mike, he's one of a kind for sure, but he covers Arizona. And Mike will tell you, he said the stat that matters to me, and I say this as a Wildcat, is that Arizona State, off of that college football playoff team last year, yes, they lose Cam Scadaboo, but you know who they bring back? 38 of the 44 guys on the 2 deep. And so we can argue and we could debate, and the Big 12 is wide open, and maybe Iowa State is that team. But you just look at what Arizona State brings back, and it's just hard for me to say that somebody is definitively better. Their schedule is pretty tough, but I do like Arizona State. I think if they're 10-2, 11-2 with a conference championship game win, the committee is not going to punish them, put them in position to host a playoff game as the number 8 seed. They'll host the number 9 seed. To me, Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Really like Notre Dame. They do lose a lot. And I think the big thing with Notre Dame that we got to remember, starting quarterback who has literally never taken a college snap before. That seems noteworthy as CJ Carr is now the starting quarterback. The good news is a couple things. One, O-line's always great. Two, Jeremiah Love may be the best running back in all of college football. And three, the defense is always good, even though they lose a lot off last year's team. Worth noting that defense was literally like one of the top. They led the country in turnovers. Now it's a little bit deceptive because they played 16 games, but that defense is going to force turnovers, going to make plays. And I really think Notre Dame is good. Now the three things that concern me: one, the quarterback situation again. Is there, what are we going to do with CJ Carr? What do we make of CJ Carr entering his first year as a starter? Two, the things that really concern me are pretty straightforward. One, you look at the schedule. Arguably, the two toughest games are the first two games of the season. At Miami this Sunday night, and then, oh, by the way, next week they play Texas A&M. Well, week 3, they actually get a bye in week 2. Week 3, they play Texas A&M at home. So, one, it's crucial that you don't go 0-2 in those first 3 games. That is the important part. The other thing is that worries me, if you do go 0-2, there's not a lot of opportunities for great wins. And then the counter to that is what happens if you take a bad loss, because Marcus Freeman kind of has a history of taking bad losses. So we know last year was Northern Illinois. We know previous years were Marshall, etc. Those are the worries to me. I still think a 10-2 Notre Dame team gets in as the number 9 seed, but, can't take a bad loss anywhere along the way. That is a concern to me. Next up, the number 10 seed. This is interesting. I have the Florida Gators, a little bit of a curveball, at 9-3 as the 10 seed in the college football playoff. So I mentioned the 9-3 Florida Gators, okay? Very specific in that preview and in that prediction. Why does that matter? Remember, last week we talked about the SEC going to 9 league games. We talked about the fact that in the SEC, they really push for this record strength metric to be part of the college football playoff selection process. And if you remember, what is record strength? It basically means they don't want a bunch of teams that are 11-1 in bad conferences getting bids over their 9-3 or 10-2 teams. Basically, you shouldn't just get in based on who has the fewest losses. It should factor in how good are the teams that you're playing. And so I think, as kind of a bone to the SEC, I do think that somebody is going to get the benefit of the doubt at 9-3. I kind of pegged it to about 2 or 3 teams. I like A&M, but I do worry their 3 toughest games are all on the road. I like Oklahoma, but the back half of that schedule is so tough. I just bring it up to very simply say, Florida, they have an insane schedule. The schedule, how about this? It includes games. Are you ready for this? At Texas A&M, at Miami, at LSU, at Ole Miss. You get Texas at home. You get Georgia on a neutral. But the counter to that is you're going to have plenty of opportunities for good wins. So I do think that they get enough. I know DJ Lagway's foot and his injury health overall is a little bit of an issue. I think he stays healthy enough. And remember, it was the O-line and D-line which really were the X factor when they took a step forward late in the season. Florida took a step forward as well. So I just bring it up because Florida is my 10 seed. And then are you ready for my shocking 11 seed? Because I think it will be. This will be my last at-large bid. It is, drum roll please, it's the Indiana Hoosiers. Indiana made the playoff last year. Remember, 11-1, no great wins. Everybody threw a fit. I think they get back to 10-2 this year. Now, they do have to play at Penn State, at Oregon, but they're going to have chances for good victories. They play at Iowa. They play kind of a swing game against Illinois at home. And I think you look at this team, they're going to have enough games against good competition where if they win the games they're supposed to, they will be in the playoff mix. And it's easy to forget this. They actually return a lot off of last year's team, a lot of guys that a lot of people like. Fernando Mendoza, new quarterback from Cal, was rated as the number one quarterback pretty much across the board in the college football playoff. So he's coming in. Two great receivers in Omar Cooper as well as Elijah Surratt. All-Americans on all three levels of the defense. And I just think, again, 10-2 in the Big Ten is going to get you in the playoff. I'm just sorry. It's going to. I don't care what everybody says. I don't care what the narrative is on Indiana. They're not leaving out a 10-2 Big Ten team. Indiana will be your 11 seed, finally your 12 seed. Remember, we do have to have a fifth conference champion from a non-Power 5. I'll give it to the Boise State Broncos, two-time defending Mountain West champs. No Ashton Genty, but a lot of that core comes back. I think the other thing too, I think it's a benefit and a drawback. Outside of a game at Notre Dame, they really don't have a ton of super marquee matchups. Now, I think it's a benefit and a drawback because you don't have that stage to pull off the massive upset that puts you on everybody's radar outside of at Notre Dame. But the counter to that is you're going to pick up a lot of wins. And so if you get to that Mountain West championship game at 12-0 or 11-1, if you're 12-1 or 13-0 coming out of the Mountain West championship game, I think you're getting that final bid as the top-ranked G5 champion. Listen, Tulane in the AAC is interesting. There's a few others. Again, Boise at 13-0, Boise at 12-1 is getting into the college football playoff, especially if the only loss is at Notre Dame. Really quickly, there's your bracket right there. We're going to come back in just a minute and pick my national champion. Now, before we do, a couple teams that are out. LSU, if you've listened to this show, I don't believe in Garrett Nussmeier. I'm sorry. 13 touchdowns, 8 interceptions in SEC play a year ago. There is a big drop-off against elite competition versus non-elite competition. Miami was right on the cusp. I kind of believe in Carson Beck more than most. I feel like he's sort of getting a raw deal, to be perfectly honest, this offseason. He was good 2 years ago, not good last year, but he's not as bad as people think he is. Problem is he's coming off major elbow surgery. The other thing is, do we trust Mario Cristobal to win every game he's supposed to? The two real headline games, Miami does not play Clemson in the regular season, but they have Florida at home. They have Notre Dame at home. I think if they win both, they'll probably get in. But again, do you trust Mario Cristobal not to lose a game that he frankly shouldn't? There's other teams in the SEC I should mention. I like Oklahoma. Schedule is just so tough. I like A&M, I mentioned. But there is your 12-team college football playoff. And I do like, I think it's going to be a fun playoff. And there you have it. 1 seed Bama, 2 seed Ohio State, 3 seed Clemson, 4 seed Georgia, all get buys. 5 seed Texas, 6 seed Penn State, 7 Oregon, 8 Arizona State is the Big Ten champ, 9 Notre Dame, 10 Florida, 11 Indiana, 12 Boise State, your group of 5 rep. All right, so what we're going to do, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, I'm going to give you my national champion. Now, what we're not going to do, I'm not going to go game-by-game picks. I think it becomes too convoluted for the listening-only audience, the audio-only audience. So we'll come back. I'll make my national championship selection. And oh, by the way, we will also give my Heisman pick. Quick break. Our college football selection show, if you will. Be right back. All right, we're going to get back to the show in a minute. But before we do, I have so many people that reach out and say, Torres, you give me hours and hours and hours of free content every day, every month, every year. What can I do to help support the show? Well, you want to support the show and look good in the process. Make sure to check out and support the Aaron Torres Media merch store at aarontorresonline.com/merchandise. Some of you wondering, what can I get in that merch store, Torres? Well, Kentucky fans, we got our Mark Pope Hope and Pope t-shirts. That is right. Mark Pope, monster first year. Year 2 is going to be even better. Get your Hope and Pope t-shirt at aarontorresonline.com/merchandise. Arkansas fans, the Big Pig Invasion is coming. It is here. John Calipari has things rocking. Get your Big Pig Invasion tees. Again, aarontorresonline.com/merchandise. St. John's fans, we have our Big Rick Energy t-shirts And if you're just a college basketball fan in general, guess what? Your March is for day drinking shirt. That is the shirt that you need year round, but especially for the next NCAA tournament. You can order yours now. By the way, football fans, we got you covered too. Auburn fans, we already know the freeze warning has hit the plains. Make sure to get your freeze warning t-shirts. Also, Nebraska fans, new era, new rules, the t-shirt that you need before the start of this coming season. And oh, by the way, if you're a Colorado fan, if you're just a Coach Prime fan, we have our Dion shirts and hats, more of them than we know what to do with. So to check out the full line of Aaron Torres Media merch and also support the show, good news is we're going to have even more for the fall. Check out the Aaron Torres Media merch store at aarontorresonline.com/merchandise. And for more information, you can always reach out at Aaron Torres Podcast Questions @gmail.com. All right, everybody. I'm back. Good to be back. So tell you what, in just a minute, I'm going to reveal my national champion, my Heisman Trophy, and much, much more. Before we do, though, I got to welcome back our partners, our friends, a group that we love working with. Got to welcome back SeatGeek and SeatGeek.com. Okay, so SeatGeek is America's #1 ticketing app, downloaded by tens of millions of people. The one thing I love about working with SeatGeek is pretty straightforward, is that they let you know every single ticket on their app, what works and what doesn't, what's good and what isn't. Every single ticket is rated 1 through 10. Also have a red dot or a green dot. Green dot means go ahead and purchase. Green dot means you want that seat. And oh, by the way, the red dot doesn't. And so it's that time of year. Listen, you're probably going to watch your favorite team this weekend. Are you going to watch your favorite team? You could also be going to a concert, a show, a whatever. Well, you need any help you can get. By the way, I saw tickets for Ohio State and Texas. I think the cheapest price is like $400. You want to sit on the lower level, it's over $1,000. So I bring it up because you need any sort of discount you can get. And our partners at SeatGeek are going to take good care of you. All you got to do is go to SeatGeek.com. And if you use promo code Torres, how about this? They give you $20 off your first purchase. $20 off your first purchase. SeatGeek.com. Promo code Torres. Get $20 off your first purchase. Download the app. Use promo code Torres. It's that simple. SeatGeek.com. All right. With that said, let's go ahead and keep things going here with our college football playoff selection show. And I'll just be transparent. Listen, we're not going to go game by game in the bracket. Again, I mentioned it a minute ago. One, there's only so much time in a show. But two, I think it becomes a little bit difficult for a visual audience, an audio audience more than anything else. And so because of it, let's just jump right in to my national championship game. It's, of course, late January now in Miami. And it's kind of an old school kind of setup in Miami because I have Clemson versus Alabama playing for the national championship. Now, before I give away my pick, let's dive into these teams a little bit more. Alabama is the #1 team in my college football playoff bracket. I think, to me, the biggest X factor, the biggest difference, Ryan Grubb being back is such a huge variable for the Alabama Crimson Tide. The bottom line is that, listen, last year, I think Alabama, there were a lot, let me put it this way. I think there were a lot of square pegs with round holes. I think Kalen DeBoer not having Ryan Grubb there, I think probably hurt more than we realized in real time. So now he gets back, one, a guy that has now officially been an NFL offensive coordinator, but two, as importantly, a guy that, just knows Kalen DeBoer in and out. Ty Simpson, to me, I just don't think, he doesn't have the skill set, the talent of Jalen Milroe, but you listen to Ryan Grubb, he takes care of the football, he does what he's supposed to do, and I just think that's a better fit for what that team wants to do. Listen, Michael Penix is a perfect example. Michael Penix is a very good quarterback, but he's not super athletic. He didn't run the ball much, but he was accurate. He didn't make mistakes. He got better year over year in that system. Next thing you know, he's a Heisman finalist. Now, I don't think Ty Simpson is going to be that, but when you have the receivers that he does, when you have an O-line with multiple first-round picks, multiple future, NFL dudes, he just can't be bad with the ball. Take care of it. I think you look at the schedule, I think it's much more manageable. I think that's how they get to the SEC championship game in the first place. Yes, you have to go to Georgia. Yes, at South Carolina is tough. but you get Tennessee, a rival at home. You get LSU at home as well. And Oklahoma, which I think could be a swing game late in the year, you get them at home as well. And so I like Alabama as far as Clemson is concerned. What is there not to like? This is a team that won the ACC last year, made the college football playoff, and, you watch Clemson, and I just think, listen, let me even backtrack. With Clemson, I think we all gave up on Clemson. I include myself. I'm guilty of that. If you're a Clemson fan watching or listening, you can sit there and say, Torres, you were the one year over year complaining that Dabo doesn't use the transfer portal. I was wrong, because the guys in that program, the guys in that building believe in what they've done, believe in the system, and believe in what Dabo is preaching. And so I just bring it up because, to me, it feels like everybody is rowing in the same direction, and they are getting better year over year. Last year, they won an ACC title. This year, they bring back pretty much everybody. As I mentioned, they are now in a situation where basically everybody that's starting has been in that program for 2 or 3 years at this point, something that people just don't realize. Cade Klubnik, by the way, in his 3rd year in that system under Garrett Riley. And so you look at what this team is, you look at the fact that, listen, the depth maybe isn't there, but in college football, depth is important at every level of football, from high school, college, peewee, whatever. But at the same time, nobody has depth anymore because of the transfer portal, and so I don't worry about that as much. And they got NFL dudes all over their front line. Cade Klubnik at quarterback, the 3 wide receivers, Bryant Wesco, TJ Moore, also on top of that, Antonio Williams, O-line, multiple 5th and 6th year starters. And then on defense, again, NFL dudes everywhere. Peter Woods on the D-line, TJ Parker on the defensive line. I get my TJs mixed up at Clemson. And Sammy Brown, that freshman linebacker last year, is a stud. Secondary is always good. So I like Clemson versus Alabama to play for the national championship. And then let's just get right into it. My 2025, technically 26 by the time the game is played, I have Clemson as your 2026 national champion. Listen, I could go with Bama. I could go with a couple teams. Listen, I think we are now officially entering the heart of the portal NIL era, where it's just going to be hard to build depth year over year over year. Guys aren't going to sit for 2 or 3 years. There's too much money. Right now, the way college football is set up, if you're not playing, transfer down a level, put up stats, you could transfer back up in a year. So people don't have depth. Normally, I would worry about that with Clemson, but I don't think Alabama has any kind of crazy depth. I don't think Georgia, Ohio State, whoever have any kind of crazy depth. But what I do see in Clemson is exactly what I said. I see a team that has been together 3 or 4 years. I think it's worth noting as well with Clemson is that, there's something about, the fact that Klubnik is there for a 3rd year. I was just thinking about this before the show. How many, I'm thinking about this. How many first-year starters are there everywhere in college football, right? Julian Sayin at Ohio State. Ty Simpson at Alabama, Gunnar Stockton at Georgia, Joey Aguilar at Tennessee. You go on and on down the list. Cade Klubnik, 3rd-year starter, 3rd year with the same OC, 3rd year with the same head coach. I think that's going to be an X factor. I think from the Clemson perspective, they are going to pick up wins early against LSU. That is going to kind of put them on the national radar. Even if they lose a game or 2, they won't be punished, whatever. I could go on and on. I love Clemson. I love what they're about. I think this is their year. By the way, I don't know what the next 10 years of college football is going to look like. This might be the best last chance that Dabo has to win another national title. Go ahead and give me Clemson as your 2025-26 national champion. I have them beating Alabama. Tell you what, Producer Matt, let's do one more quick break. We'll come back. I'm going to give a Heisman Trophy winner. Might surprise you, might not. Clemson, my 2025 national champion. Quick break. Be right back.
What's up, everybody? It's AT, and I've told you before, when I'm on the road, when I'm podcasting, sometimes you end up looking like a slob. Look at me, mismatched socks, I'm wearing shorts. What am I doing? The folks at FioBox said, Torres, let's get you some fresh gear to look better when you're on camera. Well, what do you think? This is all part of the spring collection for FioBox. These jeans, perfect when I want to go to games, casual, serious, business casual, you name it. Got the quarter zip. And oh, by the way, we got this perfect zip. This is the perfect spring, summer zip that you can wear when you're out with friends. Maybe it gets a little chilly. Maybe it's a little chilly in the morning. Perfect for all occasions. So this is what I need you to do. If you like what you see, and you should, what I need you to do is visit Fioboc.com. That's Fioboc.com, Fioboc. By the way, Fioboc has a special promo code for listeners of the Aaron Torres pod. Use promo code Torres and get 20% off your purchase. Thank you again to Fioboc. By the way, make sure that you're following them on social media at Fioboc, Fioboc. Thank you, Fioboc.
All right, everybody. I'm back. Good to be back. Final segment of the show. So good to be back. College football pick show. You know, it's pretty straightforward. Gave my college football playoff 12, my national championship pick. Now it is time to wrap the show with my Heisman. Before we do, though, you know what I got to do? I got to thank my friends. I got to thank my partners. I got to thank Collie Puffs and ColliePuffs.com. Okay, so I've told you Collie Puffs' story a million times by now, but Collie Puffs, family-owned company, not far from where I live. But the bottom line is, it's that time of year. You're going to be on the couch. You're going to be watching a lot of football. You need a snack that is both healthy but delicious, something you're going to love, something your kids are going to love, something to snack on. You need Collie Puffs. What makes these different, though, is this is the healthy alternative to the crap in your grocery aisle, the snack that you need if you want to stay fit while sitting on the couch watching college football all winter long, all fall long. What makes Collie Puffs different? Baked, not fried. Avocado oil, no grease. Healthy ingredients. But here's the best part. They taste freaking delicious, okay? For more information or to try Collie Puffs out for yourself, this is what I need you to do. I need you to go to ColliePuffs.com. That's CAULIPUFFS.com, ColliePuffs.com. You can also find them on Amazon.com as well. But if you go to ColliePuffs.com, how about this? If you use promo code Torres, you get 15% off your purchase. 15% off your purchase, ColliePuffs.com. Really do appreciate you. Appreciate your support of Collie Puffs. ColliePuffs.com, promo code Torres for 15% off. All right, really quickly, somehow gone 42 minutes strong here. Let's get to the Heisman Trophy. Interesting year. Don't think there's any sort of overwhelming favorite. Arch Manning is number one. We'll get into some of the guys I don't like in a minute, but I'm not going to beat around the bush. Let me give you my 2025 Heisman Trophy winner. If you've been following this show, I mean, it might not be that surprising. I have Cade Klubnik, the Clemson quarterback, as my 2025 Heisman Trophy winner. So here's why. I mentioned it a few minutes ago, but bottom line is this, is that you look across college football, virtually everyone of note has essentially a first-year starter at quarterback. Arch Manning at Texas. Again, Julian Sayin at Ohio State. Bryce Underwood, who we haven't even mentioned, was named the starting quarterback at Michigan. Ty Simpson at Alabama. Cade Klubnik is now in his third year in the same system, under the same head coach and coordinator. That's just, how many guys can you say about? Think about what I just said, right? Think about what I just said. Ty Simpson, new OC this year than versus last year. I know it's the DeBoer system and they're all under the same tree, but new play caller, new whatever. Julian Sayin, I know Brian Hartline was in the program last year, but it's totally different than Chip Kelly. Again, go on and down the list. Cade Klubnik has had the same guy in his ear for 3 years in Garrett Riley. And you look at Cade Klubnik last year, he got much, much better from year one to year two in that system. Up to 63% completion percentage, 3,700 yards, 36 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. On top of that, almost 500 yards rushing and 7 TDs. I think when you look at a Heisman Trophy candidate, you also have to think about what it becomes of the narrative around that person. Well, with Cade Klubnik, what's going to be the narrative? If Clemson first of all, you're playing LSU in week 1. For reasons only known to everyone else except for me, everybody loves Garrett Nussmeier. So people are talking about Garrett Nussmeier as the number 1 pick in the draft. I don't get that, but the point being is that no matter what you think about Garrett Nussmeier, let me put it this way. No matter what you think about Garrett Nussmeier, if Cade Klubnik beats him head-to-head, all of a sudden, the people that thought that Garrett Nussmeier was the number 1 overall pick in the draft might sit there and say, That Cade Klubnik guy was pretty good. Just beat him head to head, even if it was at Clemson. Clemson's guy just beat the supposed number one pick in the draft. So you have a great win to start the season. I think they'll be just on the radar enough, and Clemson is a big enough brand where they just keep winning game over game. He keeps putting up stats. It's not as though, you need to be great every single week. It's not as though you're going to have the spotlight on you every week, right? So if you have a bad game against Boston College or whatever, it's not like everybody's going to have it under a microscope the way you will if you're the LSU quarterback or if you're the Alabama quarterback or the Ohio State quarterback or whatever. And so to me, I just think that the narrative becomes you beat the guy that people think is the number one overall pick over the course of this to start the season. You're on a national championship contender. Oh, by the way, you're the face of the program as they ascend back to the top of the sport because, again, the theme of the show, everyone that covers college football, including me, left Clemson for dead, and Dabo and Clemson got it rolling again. They're going to be a national championship contender again, and you're the face of that. You're the guy that is the difference between Clemson being a 9-win team last year and an 11 or 12-win team in the regular season this year. And then I think, oh, by the way, you get a nice game against Lenora Sellers to close the season. So maybe your two most high-profile games, you have a high-profile opponent and quarterback in week one. You beat him. That sets the tone for the season. And if you can beat Lenora Sellers in a rivalry game, another guy that people are projecting as a top first-round kind of draft pick, then all of a sudden you look around and you say, wow, he just beat two quarterbacks from the SEC. And by the way, that will matter because we know how the SEC narrative works. And then I don't know what else there is to say. So I just bring it up because I think you have those two signature wins over SEC programs, over two SEC quarterbacks that people are in love with, and that sets the tone for the season. Statistically, he's going to have the numbers. Clemson is going to be good. They're going to get the wins. Cade Klubnik is my Heisman Trophy winner. I should mention, by the way, a couple other names that I am just not, nearly as in love with. Listen, I think Arch Manning is going to be fine, but he is the favorite. We've talked about this. He's the favorite because of his last name. And people will say, well, he was also a 5-star, whatever, blah, blah. Well, guess what? Georgia has a 5-star quarterback making essentially his first career starts. No different than Arch Manning. And I know Arch and Gunnar Stockton have both started games, but you get the point. First year as a full-time starter. Alabama has a former 5-star. First year as a full-time starter. Julian Sayin at Ohio State. So the only point I'm trying to make is that, you look at Arch Manning, the only thing that separates him from Julian Sayin, Ty Simpson, Gunnar Stockton, on and on, is the last name. I think he'll be good. I think Texas will be carried by the defense. I think the defense will be the X factor and the variables in terms of why Texas is good, why Texas wins games. I don't think Arch might be in New York. I don't think he is going to be dominant enough, good enough to put up stats. By the way, I know it's a weird back and forth with his grandpa. His grandpa's saying this, he's saying that. I don't think anybody's grandpa speaks for them in real life, but I also think if I were to guess, I think he's much more in line to come back in 2026, as grandpa said, than he is to leave after this season. As he said, it's neither here nor there. Other names, Garrett Nussmeier, I don't believe in. 13 touchdowns, 8 interceptions in SEC play last year. He wasn't good against great competition. He just wasn't. Maybe he proves me wrong in week one. Clearly a theme of today's show. Clearly, it does not matter to me. I am not a Garrett Nussmeier guy. The one guy I will say that I do kind of like, and I don't think, we'll get into him in a second. The guy outside of Cade Klubnik that he's a very obvious name, but Jeremiah Smith is a dude. I mean, Jeremiah Smith is unbelievable. The stats last year, 76 catches, 1,300 yards, 15 TDs as a true freshman. Now, admittedly, he played 17 games, so that skews the numbers a little bit. I just think he's going to be so good. Now, the big question becomes multifold. Is one, how is the quarterback play with Julian Sayin? Is it good enough? Now, the counter to that is you just throw the ball to number 4 and don't even worry about it. But two, there's so much talent around him. They play Texas this weekend. Okay, I get it. But the counter is like, what if people take the Texas game plan from a year ago? If you remember, Jeremiah Smith cooked Oregon in the Rose Bowl, and Texas just the next game said, we're not letting Jeremiah Smith beat us. And they said, you know what, if Carnell Tate beats us, if Brandon Innis beats us, if these other guys beat us, that's fine, but we're not letting Jeremiah Smith beat us. So I do wonder if that's the game plan that teams take. New running backs, a largely new O-line. Do they say we're going to double, triple cover, double, triple team, double, triple coverage Jeremiah Smith and let somebody else beat us? It could be a possibility. I don't know. I just bring it up because I like him. I don't know that I really love him, though. All right, I'll tell you what. Like I said, I'm battling something here, so I'm just going to go ahead and get out of here for the afternoon. Appreciate the crowd. Saw a question about Zach Calzada as the starting quarterback, at Kentucky. I'm not surprised. I know that the young guy Cutter Boley, of course, is whatever. He's been playing well. You bring in Zach Calzada as a 6th, 7th year senior to play him, right? You bring him in to play him. You bring him in to play him. And he's talked about, I'm a game manager. I'm comfortable being a game manager. I have no problem with the title of game manager. And so, yeah. All right. I'll tell you what, I'm just fighting through this here. I appreciate everybody's support. If you're not subscribed, Aaron Torres Pod YouTube channel, subscribe to the pod, subscribe to YouTube, also Apple, Spotify, leave us a 5-star rating and review. By the way, thank you to our partners, Circa Sportsbook, Circa Casino. We were out in Vegas. They were awesome. Contest weekends. You have until basically another week or so to sign up for their contests. You can do it in Nevada. You can make your picks through a proxy service. Shout out to the Winner Circle Proxy, Whitney, my buddy there. She's taking good care of me. She'll take good care of you as well. If you're in Nevada, make sure to sign up. I am part of the Circa Survivor Contest. And if you're in the state of Kentucky or Tennessee, that new sports book in Franklin, Kentucky is an exact replica of the one in Vegas, the world's best sports book as far as I'm concerned. So I hope everybody who got out to the sports book on Saturday in Franklin, Kentucky had a blast, but we are so grateful for Circa Sportsbook. Contests are still you can still sign up. It's not too late. But yeah. Also, SeatGeek.com, promo code Torres will get you $20 off a purchase on SeatGeek. All right, time for me to go. Time for me to get some Dayquil, but appreciate everybody's support. Shout out to Torrent Craig. Shout out to Rachel, who hates my voice. Shout out to JJ Reddick. You F-ed. Unblock me, bro. I will be back Tuesday night. We'll make our official Week 1 college football picks. By the way, hate to brag. College football picks last year, we went 62% against the spread. I guarantee you there is no one in college football that did better. By the way, all my picks are official public play. So you can't be saying, Torres is making up these numbers. They're posted every single week. We hit 62% last year. I feel good going into Week 1. We'll be back probably 5 p.m. on Tuesday night. Shout out to Torrent Craig. Shout out to Rachel Hates My Voice. Shout out to JJ Reddick. You F-ed. Unblock me, bro. See y'all Tuesday. Aaron.